This is an historic moment. We have in this past year made great progress in ending the long era of conflict and Cold War. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Nothing less than a new world order. This is the pledge of the world's most powerful leaders, representing 90% of the global economy. Thursday's G20 summit, they say, has changed the rules of the game.
People dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee to tell what I knew of activities which might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
President Bush signed a formal agreement that will end the United States as we know it. And he took the step without approval from either the U.S. Congress or the people of the United States.
The secret organizations of the world power elite are no longer secret.
It's known as the Bilderberg Group. Could their objective be world domination?
Declaring war on the New World Order. TruthRadioShow.com. And welcome everybody to the Nightly News with Dan Bidondi right here on TruthRadioShow.com, and we are live on Rumble. So if you're watching guys through a third-party website or like my website and all that, if you log on to Rumble, if you don't have a Rumble account, it only takes like 30 seconds to actually create an account, and this way you can partake in the live chat going on. So we got a guest tonight, guys, and we're going to be talking about digital currency and the New World Order enslavement coming soon, and exactly calling for what it exactly is, man. And I guess he's a financial expert, Rob Blackwell, and it's a funny picture here of Rob. So yeah, Rob, I don't know if you're watching, man. I got that funny picture of you up there.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a little joke here. We were, because I asked him earlier because he couldn't come on video because it was international. So I said, give me a promo shot, and he gave me that. So I figured I'd throw it up as a joke. But yeah, Rob Blackwell, he's a financial expert. He's into music now, but he used to work with the banks and everything. And so he's gonna, we're gonna go through some articles too, and he's gonna give us take, and that's him right there. He's gonna give a take on everything that's going on too. With the Pope, with the transferring all the money to the Holy See. There's a lot of stuff going on, and Biden's executive orders to push a digital currency. Even the mainstream media they're trying to say he's not actually trying to push a cashless society. Well, that's exactly what a digital currency is. It's a cashless society, and to paint us here, right, guys, right? I used to work for Dunbar. I used to pick up money from banks and stores. We bring it to our place, wrap it up together, and at the end of the week, it all goes to the big banks. And what they do is they reprocess everything. And so if you go everywhere, right, And people are seeing signs, oh, we've got a change shortage, or we're not accepting large denominations now. The thing is, there's no change shortage. The print still, prints that, the mint, still prints that coins out every year like scheduled. There's no problem with that. What's going on is when the banks and the stores, they send the change up to the big banks. They reprocess, they clean it, whatever they do, and put it in the rolls and all that, send it back out, reprocess it. The big banks are now redistributing the change. And also, here in Rhode Island, we have a Starbucks here in Rhode Island. I got to check these other stores. They're not accepting cash no more. It says cards only, whatever the case, and the apps, whatever, no more cash. So you're starting to see they're pushing cash out, because the thing is, why they're taking all the change and all the big denominations, because when they finally make the push for a digital currency, it's going to be less of a nightmare, less of exchange for the banks, less work for the banks to take your, basically if you have, $1,000 in your bank, right? It's already digital right now as we speak, you know what I mean? So that'll be fine, but if you got cash at home, they're going to tell you, you got 30 days to bring your cash into the bank so they could put it into the account, and you're not going to be able to use cash no more. So cash will be useless, and that's what they're doing, you know what I mean? And same thing with the change and all that. So, Rob, you want to give an introduction to yourself and all that good stuff?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me on, by the way, Dan. I love the show, man. And I'm a huge fan, and so it's cool to be able to come on and kind of talk through what I know. So for a decade, I was an investment banker at a pretty big regional, actually 2 big regional banks, and had a couple dozen offices I serviced and all the good stuff. And I've done everything from, the teller line to travel to sign farmers up for, investment accounts and all that good stuff. So I've kind of done it all, managed branches and all that good stuff. So long story short is I've had a pretty intimate knowledge of the branch level and a little bit above with these banks. And it's exactly like you said. If you go in to grab your $25,000 or whatever out of your account, more than likely they're not going to hand it to you in cash, because depending on the day of the week, they probably don't have it, which is really interesting. So that's my stuff now. I figured out that what's called fractional reserve banking ethically did not line up with what I believe, and so I gracefully bowed out and am a worship leader at a church now. So go figure, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, guys, I also want to thank, before I go any further, I want to thank ShakeandWakeRadio.com for carrying this show. Thank you, Annie. The alternative media on there, like my shows, the shows from David Carrico, John Pounders, 90 TV, Trey Harris, and many other, and now I think Visual Disturbance too. But check out ShakeandWakeRadio.com and also BeforeIt'sNews.com. I'm a contributor writer for them, so please check them out when you get a chance. So yeah, we talk about this a lot, and I remember, and I'm by no means any financial expert, guys. I didn't even take a business course in school. So, but the thing is, why I have a lot of knowledge on this for, because years ago when I first started radio, I think it was 2008 and 9, I forgot which exactly what year it was, but I started radio, and even before that, I did a vast study on the elite and everything else with that, that goals are, what I mean? And I took a big interest in the mark of the beast since I was young, and I watched develop. And here's the thing, guys, I'm not saying the digital currency is a mark of the beast. I want to get that out. It's one of the components. The mark of the beast is made up of several components. I did a whole video on that, but this is one of them. The digital ID is another one, and all the digital passports, all that stuff. It's all part of the digital system. So anyway, I've seen what they were, even before people even knew what a Bitcoin was or anything crypto. Years before that, I was telling people how they're going to push a cashless society. That's what the global goal was. Because here's the thing, right? If the World Bank right now was to move to a one world currency, right, it'd be a freaking nightmare. It would cost them billions and trillions of dollars actually to transfer all those, the paper money, the coins over to that digital, to exchange them to the new digital, to the new world currency. So they figured the best thing to do, get everything digital first. And at first, we'll still go off the Federal Reserve System, the digital. So basically, when all the countries establish their central bank, which you're going to see that CDBC, it's central bank digital currency, all these countries establishing these the central bank digital currency. Then when it's all said and done, right, and they're going to go off their own bank. So now instead of exchanging hard cash and all that. It'll be in the matter of a couple of keystrokes. It'll go from the Federal Reserve over to the IMF, the World Bank, into a one world central currency. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing. If you notice over the years, the smaller banks have been merging with the bigger ones. I mean, it's been consolidating banks. And I've been noticing this pattern for a while. And, what I've learned by studying the elite, and they brag about this. They white papers on it, spoken conferences, TED Talks, bragging about what they're going to do. You know what I mean? And we're seeing it right here. Now, you got the President of the United States, even Trump, too. I mean, Trump, he was behind it. They're all behind it. You know what I mean? He said nothing to stop the digital currency, and they had several bills go to Congress and the Senate to push a digital currency. Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, says we need a digital currency like yesterday. You know what I mean? China's pushing it. It was the Bahamas was the first country to do it. It's called the sand dollar. It's a complete digital currency system. So, when other countries have all the digital currency, it's going to merge into one mega bank. It's a world bank. So it's going to be the same currency all over the world. You know what I mean? That's down the road from now. But first, for now, is to get our money from paper and hard cash into digital. So, Rob, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what's going to happen. I've got a few things that might thwart their plans as far as thinking through cash flow and everything else, how that works, and we'll dive into that in just a minute. But yeah, that's kind of what I see going on. To your point, it's really interesting. Your point earlier about if they did it all at once, it would crash the system. Well, think of it kind of like electric cars, right? So they're trying to push this electric car stuff and whatever. Dude, if they did that like right now and just started banning everything, there'd be pitchforks in the streets, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of been this slow roll, like you've mentioned, and then trying to get everything kind of prepped for it, and then they'll either flip the switch or start implementing like circuit breakers into the system to be able to flip when they want to.
Yeah, and you can see the writings on the wall, man. And this stuff is the stuff I'm digging up, guys, is not from conspiracy theory websites. These are top financial websites. I mean, they're openly bragging about this, saying they're going to do this. They've been talking about it for a while, you know what I mean? Even Forbes and all these financial reports. And I know, guys, people listening, joining in the show, yeah, so when you listen to financial reports, it's probably the lowest rated segments in news broadcasts, you know what I mean? And they sit there and talk about financial stuff. It's boring as whale poop, you know what I mean? Plain and simple. But this is not, because we're exposing the overall agenda behind us, you know what I mean? And also getting to the gist of it, too, because Rob's a better expert than I am. I'm not an expert, he is, about explaining how this stuff works, you know what I mean? And people, the other thing, too, is a big thing out there, and I said this from day one, man, I didn't trust this as far as I could throw it, is the Bitcoin stuff, you know what I mean? And to me, like, when I seen Bitcoin come out, and I'm like, wow, this is a great way to indoctrinate the system, people, to say, oh, you're fighting against the system, and on top of it, they're conditioning you to accept a cashless society. Now, here's the thing, too. People look at me like I got three heads. It's, oh, you don't know how Bitcoin works? It's like, I don't need to know how Bitcoin works. I know the system's run, but the system it's on is controlled by the CIA. Okay, I know that. And the thing is, you think they're going to allow something that goes against them on end? No. Okay, and they do things like beta test pilot programs. They put something out, let the public play with it. Okay. In the meantime, they're sitting back. Yeah, you're making money off it, no doubt. My cousin became a millionaire off of Bitcoin. So you're making money off. But the thing is, they're sitting back. Looking at, look, there's a bug there. They're working out all the kinks and bugs. So basically, when they push this digital currency, they're going to flip the switch, and there goes Bitcoin. And if you don't believe me, the Bitcoin had a crash like not too long ago, and they're talking about another one. I think one of the articles coming up later on, too. And the thing is, they're going to shut it off. And people say, oh, they can't do that. Yeah, they can. Anything, and the people don't understand this, too. Okay, anything to do with financial systems, okay? You talk about the Rothschilds, okay? They got probably 1,000 years of financial experience under the belt. So if you think you got something better, they're 4, 5, 10, probably 10 steps ahead of you. You know what I mean? These people are evil. They got like the whole life is to do with financial stuff, and they go back for generations. You know what I mean? And they're the ones who literally took over all of Europe and everything else with the French Revolution. We could go on with all that stuff, but man, I tell you, but this is their goal. You know what I mean? And their goal is to enslave the planet literally with money. You know what I mean? And the Bible has a lot to talk about that too. But so Rob, yeah, I'm sorry. I think I cut you off. I'm sorry if I did.
No. You're making excellent points. Like you said, these people have been doing this sort of deception with what they call money for centuries. Yes, they're doing it again, and I think you're spot on. There's a lot of people, even friends of mine, who vehemently disagree with me on Bitcoin. But like you said, the platform it's built on was funded solely by the CIA, 100%. That scares me. It scares me that, they say, well, it's decentralized and whatever. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, kind of so is cash, right? I mean, think about it. Like, if I'm at if you're having a yard sale, Dan, and, you've got a bike out there and it's $20, does anyone really know what I handed you for that bike? Maybe I'd negotiated it for $5. Or maybe I liked it a lot and said, hey, it's worth $40. Here's $40. Does anyone really know that? No. So in that sense, cash can be considered decentralized as well, because you can kind of play with it as you want. You're not going to be able to do that with Bitcoin. You're not going to be able to get around the record, if you will, of your transaction. Now, it might be encrypted or it might be whatever. It might not go to certain places, but someone's keeping a record of it somewhere. You can guarantee that.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything digital, they got that MITs in it, plain and simple. They own the whole computer world, plain and simple, and they're the ones who invented it, So, and here's the thing, too. When you look at this, right, you can never pay. Just say your brakes are going in your car. Brakes have a relatively easy job to replace brake pads. So basically you say, hey, Dan, could you replace my brake pads? I'll give you $75, whatever. Just get the parts and I'll give you $50, whatever. So they transfer the money over to you, right? And now this is where the micromanager comes in. Wait, hold on. Whoa, a second. Dan, you made $75 replacing brakes. Oh, guess what? We're taxing you because that's income. We're taxing you. And on top of it, wait, are you an ASC certified mechanic? Nope. Well, so we're going to suspend Rob's registration until he goes to an ASC certified mechanic to get it done the right way. And approved by a certified mechanic. And in the meantime, they micromanage everything. Things like yard sales, flea markets. It's got to be the point of first I got to use apps and everything else like they're doing now with the CashApp and all that stuff. And and then they're going to start taxing you on everything, And you're going to get taxed, they're going to get taxed, and that's why the IRS, we got the 87,000 new employees being hired. And, it's funny, too, because they started hiring them before the bill actually passed, the reduction bill, But, it's kind of weird. But, and I think they're going to be the enforcers, too, of this digital push, And also go after the middle class. But, man, I tell you, it's a lot of stuff you've seen that was the writings on the wall are all coming to play,
Yep. Yeah, and it's going to be scary. One question that I just haven't been able to really kind of wrap my head around is, what are the people, what are the folks that can't legally work here? What are they going to do? A lot of those folks make cash underneath the table, right? And we can say what we want to about the. Well, they shouldn't be here working. I look, I get that, but at the end of the day, they still work for cash. Well, I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to be kind of up a creek,
Yeah.
And so they're pushing this. Anytime I hear these folks push something hard and try to sell it like, oh well, there are some people that are unbankable, and so we're trying to help them. That's a red flag right there. They're not trying to help you at all.
No.
They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about anybody but themselves. And so my question is always, well, how does this really help the person that doesn't maybe even use a bank? Well, the thing is it doesn't. It doesn't help them one bit.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole scary part of this is it's all deception. If I trade you cash and you trade me a good, there's no deception there, correct?
Yep.
And now there's all this people watching. Oh well, like you said, you didn't go to a certified mechanic. Oh well, guess what? Sorry, we're still going to tax you for that income. We're still going to tax you for that service you paid for. But we're also going to suspend your registration because you didn't go to what we said you could go to. I mean, it's just absolutely ludicrous. Our privacy, our right to do business as we please, our right to even make contracts now under the Constitution, it's all in jeopardy, every bit of it.
Oh, it is. And, I mean, you guys can see where this is going to go. And I think we explained that very well, where it's going to go, the intrusion. Now, granted, does it sound great? You don't have to worry about your money getting stolen or losing it and all this stuff. Yeah, absolutely. It sounds amazing. But the thing is, the intentions behind this are not good. And it's never for your benefit, plain and simple. And then, many people work under the table. There's a lot, mom and papa pizza joints, they hire delivery guys and under the table, you know what I mean? And a lot of waitresses and all that stuff. It's all under the table mostly. So those things are going to be a thing of the past. And, business is not going to be able to keep up enough help because of all the tangible taxes they got going on and all this other stuff. But, it's got to really rock the foundation of the whole world economic the forum, the forum. I'm saying the whole economic system in the whole world, literally, and especially in the United States, and because a lot of jobs are under the table, and that will be the thing in the past, man. And you can see the trend going on. And when we talk about how they could shut things off, and this is just an example, right? We all know the SNAP, the EBT cards. It's all digital. You don't remember years ago we used to get the paper food stamps. It was like actual paper food stamps. It was like $1, whatever the case, and you go buy food with it. Or you could only buy food stuff with it. So, and it's merged into a card now. It's called an EBT card. And so this is an example of it. This happened Sunday. It was reported by 12 News in... Well, it's a national news outlet anyway. SNAP EBT outages reported across the country. So for a temporary time, Sunday, okay... the SNAP EBTs went down. And so there's millions of people on food stamps in this country, right? And this went down for a temporary time. Could you only imagine the panic? Just say this went down for a week. The panic and chaos that would have caused. So this is just this happened several times too, by the way. The EBT nationwide just stopped working. And they couldn't come up with an explanation, but it caused a lot of stuff, okay, plain and simple. So this is just a small example of how they could control. Imagine that. Now the thing is, the old paper ones, yeah, granted this is better than the paper ones, whatever the case, but is it really? You know what I mean? Now, but the thing is, this is how easily they could control things. They could control you, the population, and they shut your card off, they shut your finances down. How do you got to buy food? Now you're waiting in government bread lines, you know what I mean? And there's so much ramifications that come out of that. And it just this Sunday morning caused lots of panic. It really did. You know what I mean? EBTs and, people get their welfare money on the SNAP benefits. The money or the EBT, which is the food stamps, you know what I mean? So, this is what could happen.
And it's going to happen cross-industry, right? So it's going to cross-pollinate.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout every industry you can think of. There's not going to be an industry that isn't affected by this. I mean, think about this. Think about CPAs and what they do with your taxes and all this other stuff. They're not dude. Are they going to be needed anymore? I mean, if you think about, I think maybe for a while. But at the end of the day, are they really going to be needed if the federal government's just tracking and the IRS is tracking all this stuff? Like, why are you going to need to file your taxes with a CPA anymore? I mean, it's kind of crazy when you think about the ramifications that could happen with this. Now, am I saying it's going to happen? I don't know. I'm not, I don't have a crystal ball here, but what I do know is that any time the federal government tries to track something, it turns into an absolute huge embarrassing failure.
Yeah, it does.
And so that's what really scares me about that.
I mean, look, our president can't even track the bathroom, let alone anything else.
Oh gosh, you can't even track what jokes work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh, terrible.
Oh, it is. And a little article here too I want to bring up quick. This ties into a little bit. Like German Green Party minister calls for a tax on meat. So, yeah, and food normally isn't taxed. You know what I mean? So you got these globalists out now calling for a tax on meat, which all ties into this too, because what they're gonna do is like they're trying to ban you from buying meat. Plain and simple, they're trying to say no. For thousands of years cows roamed the earth. Now all of a sudden there's a problem with cows. They're calling that's what's starting the whole Dutch Revolution right now. The government's calling to euthanize 30% of the cows and everything else, which will destroy farms. But yeah, imagine that. So this how this is played as the digital currency. So basically, if we have digital currency, the globalists or the controllers say, hey, guess what? You're not going to be able to buy meat no more with your card in the name of Green Earth. That's what they're going to say. And yeah, for you to buy meat, you won't be able to do that unless it's that GMO crap or lab-grown meat, whatever the case they have, or some of Bill Gates' nasty stuff. But yeah, and that's where it goes, man. And, they could leave say, all right, guess what? We're not only going to tax meat, but guess what? Now we're going to ban it because we think it's too much greenhouse effects. So with your digital currency now, yeah, you're not going to buy meat no more.
Crazy, man. And all for what? For quote unquote taxes, right?
Yeah.
If the American people actually knew that their tax dollars do not go to fund federal government programs, people think I'm like a three-head, like you said before, like a three-headed alien when I say that. But look under the Reagan administration, they did an audit of the IRS and they found that, hey, guess what? By the way, this only goes to pay the interest to the Federal Reserve. That's all your tax dollars go to do. So you start seeing the 10-year yield, right? You've seen that thing go through the ceiling, right? I mean, it's just hyperbolic almost, right? So we went from basically 1.75 to 3% within 6 months. That's crazy, okay?
Yeah, it is.
So what did you think was going to happen? Well, the interest rates go up. Our dollars go to pay the interest to the Federal Reserve. Well, guess what? They need more dollars. I mean, it's almost comical. But again, if the American people actually knew that, oh my gosh, they'd be rioting in the streets.
Yeah, and I mean and this is the best way I explain it, guys. And it's the system's made so you can never pay it back, and it's impossible. So basically, just say on the chat room, Lady Cooper, right, in the chat room, or Valerie, right, you started your own country, right, and I'm a Central European bank, and I'm issuing your own currency for you, right. So I'm like, all right, here's $10 that's going to be in your circulation, right, for your people, right. So out of the interest, you got to owe me $15. So when it comes time to pay, guess what? Then it's $5 for the interest. That's $15, right? So when it's come time to pay the piper, well, yeah, how are you going to pay $15 when there's only $10 in circulation? So now you just forfeited on your collateral, and now you have no choice but to accept another loan with more interest and more collateral, and it's a nonstop cycle you can never get out of. That's why Abraham Lincoln opposed this. In the Fed, actually, the founding fathers talked about this too. I got quotes. I could bring that up in. Actually, no, let me do that now because that's important here. Before we get into the Vatican stuff, this is quotes by the founding fathers about Central European banks, man. And a quote is brought to you by MidstateGuns.com, Rhode Island's largest indoor shooting range, located in Coventry, Rhode Island. MidstateGuns.com, and 3 quotes here. One by Thomas Jefferson. He said, I sincerely believe that the banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies, and that the principle of spending money to be paid by posterity under the name of funding is but swindling fury on a large scale. Because they've seen what was going on in Europe, guys. Granted, we didn't have a Federal Reserve back then, but they've seen how the European central banks were destroying countries. You know what I mean? And Thomas Jefferson also said if the American people ever allowed private banks, which they do now, but if people paid attention to our founding fathers, we wouldn't be in this mess. And he goes, if the American people ever allowed private banks to control the issue of our currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and the corporations which grow up around them will deprive the people of all their property until their children wake up homeless one day on a continent their fathers once conquered. And tell me that has, this is like prophetic right there. You know what I mean? And one more other quote, again by Thomas Jefferson, the issuing power of a currency should be taken from the banks and restored to the people whom it properly belongs. So because the thing is, the globalists were knocking at the door. When our country became established, George Washington was in power and all that, then, presidents, then Thomas Jefferson came along. Thomas Jefferson he's seen what they did in Europe, the whole Rothschild thing with the France and England, how they took over both countries and all that. He's seen how that was working. And it's the same banking cartels who control the Federal Reserve. And there's nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. It's a European central bank. A lot of people don't get that. We used to have the Bank of the United States of America, and FDR put a can to that, with his executive order to confiscate American citizens' gold. But this is the Founding Fathers, man, warning us about this ahead of time. And, this one especially, if the American people ever allowed private banks to control the issue of the currency, and right now, we don't even own national parks anymore. They're, or foreign entities own these things, toll bridges and everything else, man. What do you think about these quotes, Rob?
Oh, I'm telling you, it's the absolute truth. Look, it's what Andrew Jackson spent his presidency fighting. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So much so that on his epitaph is "I killed the banks." So when he let the charter expire, we had our first Great Depression, totally designed. Okay, so then you fast forward to say 1897, the crash of 1897. Was in American history was probably the worst they had ever seen, and so they wanted to quote unquote prevent that. So basically under the auspice of getting government to pass it, it's like, hey, government's here to help. Like, where have you heard that before, right? And it's like, government's here to help. We can prevent these crashes and stuff. And Federal Reserve Act gets passed in 1913. And literally not 23 years, 25 years later, the biggest Great Depression the world, not only America, but the flipping world, had ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the New Deal.
They're failing at their mission consistently, and we still allow them to operate and print our currency. What is that? I just don't understand. So you got you made a point about the Bible. I don't know what everyone believes, but a lot of leaders and even church folks use the Romans 13, right?
Yep.
God puts authorities in place. Well, in America, who is the authority? It's the people.
Mm-hmm.
Those documents say we the people. Okay, so all we have to do is say, guys, like, this is over. We're done with this. This needs to go away, and it would go away. Now, granted, I'm not sitting here saying there wouldn't be pain, right? So JFK tried to make this go away in 1963 in June.
Yep.
He passed an executive order that says, hey, guess what? We're bringing the greenback of Abraham Lincoln back.
And that was Executive Order 1110, the silver billion to buy back into the bank.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Yep. So they started bringing the greenbacks in 1s, 5s, and 10s back. I have one of the $5 bills, and it does not say Federal Reserve note on it. What does it say? It says United States Treasury note, because that's constitutional money, right?
Yep.
Well, what happened to him in at the end of November?
Yep.
Right before Thanksgiving, right?
Yep.
And so, look, I'm not saying this comes without a cost, but you want to take your country back, people, and forget the presidency, forget the Senate and the House. That's all smoke and mirrors at this point.
Yeah.
You control the currency, you control your country.
Yep. Exactly. And switching gears overseas for a minute here, and this all ties in together because this is a worldwide issue, guys, not just the United States, man. So Catholic news agencies reporting that Pope Francis instructs Vatican's entities to move all funds to Vatican Bank by September 30th. And I want to thank Bill O'Connell. He's one of our frequent listeners. He actually brought this to my attention. And I want to get your take on this, too, because this is kind of weird. And Pope Francis has ordered the Holy See, which is that bank, and connected entities to move all financial assets to the Institute for Works of Religion, it's IOR, commonly known as the Vatican Bank. And the Pope's rescript, issued August 23rd, clarifies the interpretation of the paragraph and the new constitution of Roma Cura, Predicate, Evangelum, promulgated in March. So, long story short, they said moving all the financial assets and all that into their Vatican bank. So, what is going on? Is this something, the writing's on the wall for something coming?
Oh, well, it's very, look, man, I'm not Nostradamus. I joke around a lot with that. Like, I don't have a crystal ball. But here's what I do find interesting. You mentioned Starbucks earlier, correct?
Yeah.
You know the date on that? The date on their, like, worldwide, like, cashless, thing is October 1st.
Yep.
That's the day after the Vatican says all funds should be back there, right?
Yeah.
Dude, what do they know?
Yeah, and then
what do they know is going to happen? I would love to know. And again, like, I'm not trying to be like conspiracy theory, but like that, Starbucks is a massive, huge corporate conglomerate. The Vatican, same thing, right?
Yep.
And it goes back to, look, if you have control of your currency, you control your country, right?
Yeah.
So at very least, we know that the Pope is trying to do that. But the timing just seems very interesting. Everyone's talking about like the Shemitah stuff and like the Jewish New Year and all this stuff. I don't really. I mean, it's not that I don't subscribe to some of that, but I don't really believe that's the case here with this financial system because dude, we don't know the calendar, right? We don't follow the Jewish calendar, so how can we know exactly when it's going to happen? But what I do know is they know something that they're not telling us is going to happen, and it's probably around the end of September. Mm-hmm. Could it be a little thing, a big thing? I don't know, but it's big enough they're pulling all their assets to come home. That's pretty darn scary to me.
Yeah, because I was talking about some of the digital currencies, especially with Joe Biden last week with his executive order, and my listener Bill Connell, he goes, "Hey, dude, you got to check this out." He sent to me on Facebook. He goes, he thinks it's tied to it because they're talking about December, and he was saying that they might be pushing it at the end, October 1st or something before October because of this. Yeah, and you see the Starbucks doing that, like you said, and now you have the Vatican Bank moving all their financial stuff into one place by September 30th. So something's coming, you know what I mean? And I think they know, so especially the Vatican, they got their hands in everything. So they know something is going on, and they're getting prepared for it. And like you said, the Pope's preparing for his country,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and too, what ties, and again, we'll never fully know, but, what ties does the Vatican have to the Rothschild family? Who controls, pretty much all of Europe's finances. So they know something, and we can, from what we can gather with the limited information we know now, it's worldwide. Yeah. It's not just in our country, like with Starbucks. It's worldwide.
Yeah.
That, to me, should tell everybody, at very least, hey, you need to start getting your ducks in a row. Like, if you need to sell something or something, maybe you've got some fluff in your life. Like, dude, ever since I've been playing music, I have way too many guitars. That's not going to be the case at the end of September. But let's just say that by the third week of September, a lot of that fluff is going away. Why? Because I'm scared to death. And we shouldn't live in fear, and I get all that. But at the end of the day, like, I'm trying to get my ducks in a row. I'm trying to use my resources to get things that I know I may need. Even with inflation going the way it is right now, if you need something, like, you should probably go get it.
Yeah.
I know that's probably terrible financial, I don't want to say financial advice, but, a financial plan for somebody. But, like, as for me and my family, if we needed something and we found a decent deal on it, I've said, look, go ahead and get it, because number one, I don't know after this happens that we'll be able to get the things that we need. I don't know that for sure. I mean, they're waiting in line for 3 to 5 days in Poland for coal.
Wow.
They're waiting in line because they know what this winter is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said at a conference about a year and a half ago that I spoke at, if you can use the system to gain cash or assets or even digital currencies, whatever, to then turn that into reality, turn that into something tangible, you should probably do that, because we're coming into a time where people are going to not only need tangible things, but they're not going to have access to them. And so that's kind of what I've been leaning towards. Everyone says, well, what's the goal of, I had a friend say, you're going on Dan's show tonight. Like that's really cool. But like, what's your end goal? Why are you doing that? I'm personally doing it to tell everybody, get your ducks in a row. And I hope you would agree with me. I think you would.
Yeah.
That starts with, hey, how is your relationship with God?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that look like in your life? That needs to be first and foremost. You have to have that in a row, because the one thing that people are going to lack in this time coming up is comfort, and they need to have that in something that's not here on this earth. But secondly, you need to start preparing to provide for your family. Paul says it's better you be an unbeliever than to not help your family, not provide for your family. I don't want to be in that court. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I hope that helps a little bit. I wanted to put that preface out before we talked about anything else, because I just think it's really important at this time that everyone get your ducks in a row. I don't know what that looks like, and furthermore, I haven't had a license to be able to provide financial advice in 4 years now. So that's not what I'm doing here. But what I am doing is saying, person to person, human being to human being, it's time to get prepared. It's time to wake up. It's time to get out of false reality, going to Starbucks every morning, spending $11 and, then going to Target. It's time to get out of that. It's time to come out of her, my people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's time for.
Yeah, man. And if you actually go to the scriptures, guys, there's tons of verses. The Bible instructs us to get our house in order. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. Get your house in order, and you know what I mean, because the time is near. And we're not saying like the world's gonna blow up or anything like that. We're just trying to warn you, and just get your crap together. I'm playing in English speaking, because things are gonna get rough. You know what I mean? They're gonna get rough before they get better. And it might be a time that God's like, I'll spare us for a little while longer, and maybe He could restore the economy for a couple of years, like did like when Trump was in, and things were better for a while. We thought they were gonna go to the blinks, and God gave us, I think, and it was God, not Trump, by the way. God gave us that extra time, you know what I mean, to get our ducks in order, you know what I mean, and He might do it again, who knows. We're not saying He won't, He will, but the thing is, you can't take it for granted, and while you got the time, man. And there was people in there, like I think it was in the chat room, Lady Cooper. So basically, yeah, she's talking about the Bitcoin right now. And I'm telling you, I said this years ago, and when I said, listen, when the country stop pushing the digital currency, you need to sell your Bitcoin. And I think right now is the perfect time. Now, what you do, you take that money, don't go buy gold and silver. You know what I mean? You need to take that money, go buy weapons, ammunition, storable foods, things that are going to make you, feed you and your family and help you survive and protect yourself in the coming onslaught that's coming. You know what I mean? That's what I would invest my money into. I would, even in gold and silver. I mean, look at it right now, right? Look at all these disasters, okay? Did the people gold and silver, did that help them any? No, it didn't feed their families. They're in the same rut as everybody else. If you got storable foods and everything else, you stay fed. You know what I mean? You got weapons, you could protect you and your family. You know what I mean? Those are the more important things than financial stuff. You know what I mean? And that's what I would invest my money into. That's my advice to everybody. And because the Bible says, when these things happen, man, you know what I mean? It's like the lamp, the parable with the brides with the lamp oil. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That lamp oil is not money and stuff. That lamp oil is like preparing for what's to come. You know what I mean? So you have lamp oil to get you through the night, and that, if that explains it well.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, I say it's funny. It's not funny. I think that's a God thing.
Yeah.
He teaches us to put those scriptures and those stories away in our heart so we can pull them up for times like this. And so it's really interesting when you look at the parable of the 10 virgins. 5 of them went in because they had the oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, and dude, I think that's key. It wasn't the oil, right?
Mm-hmm.
it was the mindset and the knowledge beforehand. The oil was just the thing that they knew would get them in. It wasn't, it might as well have been, their bread bag or whatever. Like that doesn't matter. What matters is the knowledge beforehand to actually act and do the right thing. People ask me, well, should I be like learning skills? Yes. Oh my gosh. The most important thing that you could provide, not only for your family, but community. And notice I said community, right? So if I lived near you, Dan, you and I would be in community, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would be in the same kind of circles running together, like getting ready for this. But, learning skills now. A couple weeks ago, I learned how to make like flour out of pine bark. Like we actually like went out and kind of, scoped it out and whatever. And like my goal like this month is to make a loaf of bread out of pine bark because we have a lot of pine trees where I live. Those are skills that I think you're going to need. And the beautiful thing about that is, especially coming from the investment world, you know what I lose, Dan, if none of this happens and everything is hunky-dory? You know what I lose out of this?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I learned a really cool skill, right?
Yep.
So, again, like you said before, and I'm really glad you brought that up. I'm not trying to scare people, man. I don't want to live in a spirit of fear. But what I do want to live in is a spirit of heightened awareness, like the 10 virgins, so that when my master comes or when I'm called to feed the hungry or, help the sick or, provide for the widows and orphans, that kind of thing, that I can actually do so.
Absolutely, and that's what it's about. To be prepared. And prepared, take action, and because you never know what's going to come, man. And then you look over here because of what's going on in the country here in the United States. Joe Biden quietly signed an executive order seizing control of cryptocurrencies to create a cashless society. So Joe Biden's executive order will give the federal government mass surveillance power over American citizens and mass control over their pockets. So it's literally seizing control of cryptocurrency, which they already have control over that. We know that, And so Joe Biden quietly signed the executive order seizing control of cryptocurrencies on behalf of the U.S. government and the international banking system. Yeah, check that out though. The U.S. government and the international. Does it say Bank of the United States? No. International banking system earlier this year expanded federal surveillance state to never seen before heights. The executive order lays out groundwork for a cashless society and central cryptocurrency banking. And no, it's not going to be, people, because a lot of people are sold into the cryptocurrency stuff. No, it's not going to be the way you think, guys. Total control. And following the footsteps of the communist China, where the authoritarian regime had already announced its government-controlled digital coin of its own. And that was Executive Order 14067 on March 9th this year. Dubbing the unilateral government commanding of cryptocurrency to ensure responsibility development of the digital assets order. So, and like I said earlier, that the Congress and Senate last year had several bills. I don't even know what happened to them, but it was like a dozen bills on both House and Senate on digital currency, a CBDC, central bank digital currency. So, and to order enough to seize that, like I said, they're gonna they have to take, because they have to take control of the Bitcoin and everything else, and of course, what this ties into it. So, Associated Press tries to say, executive order does not usher in a cashless society. And this is how dumb the mainstream media is. And they said, signed executive order March 2022 will introduce the cashless society, make paper money worthless, give government new power to inhibit purchases to create social credit score system like the one in China, which would punish people financially for certain behaviors. So basically, what they're trying to do is they're admitting it, but they're placating it. Associated Press. It's not as bad as you think. It's not a total digital. Yes, it is a total digital currency, a cashless society. That's the goal of a digital currency, to get rid of cash. It's not. It's not a conspiracy theory. And this is what they're saying here. The facts that in March, Biden signed Executive Order 14067, titled Ensuring Responsibility Development of Digital Assets. The long-anticipated executive order called on government agencies to look at the risk of benefits of digital currencies. So basically, they've already been doing that. We've been reporting that for like 2 years now, how they've been already looking into the, they're setting up pilot programs and everything else, and they've been looking into pushing a digital currency. So here's where they go. A global cashless society is being rolled out possibly in December. So they're mocking us. You know what I mean? They're mocking people. Oh, it's a global, the big giant New World Order conspiracy. Even though they brag about it, the whole, they all write white papers and that banks all say, oh yeah, they're going to push the digital currencies. And then, like I said at the beginning of the show, it's going to be a worldwide thing eventually. And they're sitting there mocking. And then here's the thing too: when it does happen, right, they're going to come back and say, oh yeah, now it's a good thing. But before we were conspiracy theorists because we were only reciting what they said. We're conspiracy theorists because we talked about it. But when they push it and talk about it, oh, it's a good thing. You know what I mean? And it's not a good thing. So, and it's the mainstream media always putting their foot in their mouth. What do you think about this stuff, bro?
Yeah, dude. One piece of advice I do give nowadays is, hey, if the mainstream media says something is either positive or negative, like your first reaction should be to do the opposite, right? Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that's always going to be correct. I'm not saying that's always going to be the right thing to do. But, it's like, yeah, okay, during the lockdowns, right? Oh, well, it's a good thing to stay home and whatever. It's really interesting that they would tell you, oh, this and that and this. And exactly like you said, 6 months ago, I was the devil for saying, wait a second, I don't really trust this Bitcoin thing. Or, wait a second, you can use this to make money now, but in 6 months you need to get the heck out of it, right?
Yep.
And so whenever the government starts talking about something as it's a good thing, I'm out.
Yep.
Like I that's when I put the cards on the table, I call the hands, I'm done. I currently have a position of maybe $350 left in that kind of market. And it's not buying physical, like, digital stuff. It's literally like ETFs, cash trading, whatever. So, and again, I don't give advice. I'm just telling you what I do. You do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not in it. I'm not going to be in it. And as a matter of fact, if I need something that costs $350, I'd be out tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not anything I trust. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. And that, that's why you need to, like Rob said, just get it. You know what I mean? Especially if it's going to be something that's going to help you guys, your family and all that stuff. Just go and get it now because you don't know if the price is going to rise or the things aren't going to be available. So, the thing is, so don't worry about, I tell people all the time, and I probably shouldn't say that, but because I know a lot of people like to save money in banking and all that. But the thing is, what's going to happen to that? You know what I mean? And here's the thing, too. Here's the other thing, right? Just say, all right, you got 20 grand in the bank, right? And just say they push the digital currency and move to a global bank, right? Now, the new rate, because we know money's worth different, and a dollar's a different price in each country, right? So what if to say, right, you got 20 grand in the bank, right? You $20,000 US, right? What if we move to international banking system, right? Where that 20,000 now is only worth 3 grand. Now you just, you know what I mean? Like, that's where I'm going with this. So the money you have now, I would definitely take it and invest it in stuff that's going to, again, keep you alive and safe and everything else. And because the point of saving money now, guys, I think that's going out the window. I could be wrong on that, but I mean, it's good to put some money away, absolutely. But I'm talking about these long-term investments, man. IRAs and all that, I don't see anything good coming out of these things. And they already talk about taking your pensions. They're already attacking people's pensions. They're already attacking people's investments and everything else, the 401k and all that. So, I mean, I don't know, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And, man, in 07, 08, 09, Dan, I saw people's lives absolutely ruined. Because they put everything into 401ks, they put everything into their houses, they put everything into these things that, according to, MSM Money and all the big, pundits at the time, couldn't lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at these things, it's like, okay, well, these things obviously, like, are going to lose sometimes. I mean, if what goes up must come down. If you keep going up, like, where are you going, right? And so that's why I say what I say. You know, it's really sad to me. It is, and this is where, you know, kind of being an expert, quote unquote, is really hard because, you know, we're talking about people's lives here. But, you know, the majority of Americans right now could not put a set of tires on their vehicle debt free. They couldn't do it without putting it, say, on a credit card or, you know, going and borrowing money from, you know, a bank or maybe their mom or whatever. That's really sad, right? Yeah. And so if you're a person of means now, like, that's why I'm saying get what you need now, because like you said before, not only the price may go up. Yeah, we've seen that over the last 2 years, haven't we? But I think we're coming on a time, Dan, where you're not going to be able to get it. Like, if something happens and we say the wrong thing about Taiwan with China, like, they stop shipping us stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's that easy to fall into a time where we can't get anything. So that's why I encourage you, look, work towards things you need to survive, work towards things that you need to grow and possibly prosper and thrive. But first and foremost, take care of yourself and your family. Like, that's what you got to do first and foremost. And find other ways to do it. And, you know, the time is short on that right now. Time is short to go out and actually make something of your time that's worth doing. And so that's what I've been encouraging people. Like, look, go do something worth doing. Go do something that's going to make you, you know, stronger in your community. Go do something that's going to make you an asset to someone else. Go do something that's going to make you money so you can go buy something you actually need. Not like 40 guitars like me, right? So.
Well, yeah, and there was, I'm trying to find the article, a singer or something recently, a singer and actor tried to withdraw $100,000 out of his bank account. He had millions in it. Tried to get $100,000 in cash, and the bank refused to give it to him. They said, we can't give it to you. You know, I mean, imagine that, going to your bank, say, hey, listen, just because you went on Craigslist or something, you seen a nice truck you want, you go in and withdraw the $20,000 to give to the guy, and yeah, we can't give it to you. Your money. And yeah, I forgot who the person was, but this is one of many instances that Rob's talking about. When you was mentioning it, it reminded me of that person that couldn't withdraw the money. I'm trying to get the person's name here, but yeah, that's what we're facing, man. And it was in the 90s, I think it was. We had a crisis that people couldn't get money out of the bank or something.
Yeah, the savings and loans crisis. The savings and loan crisis. And look, to your point, that's an excellent segue into, yeah, by the way, like, when you sign that account, you know, signature card, they call them in most banks, when you sign that, you know what you're signing, right? You're saying that you're giving an uncollateralized loan to the bank. And by the way, if the bank defaults, you're the last on the list to get paid. Mm-hmm. How about that? So you're giving this unsecured loan at 0.005 or whatever the crappy interest rate is to the bank, and they can use your money. And if the bank fails, guess what? You don't get paid back. That's what you're signing. Most people don't even know that. So it's literally, like you said, 3 or 4 minutes ago, it's not your money at that point. I'm not saying go make a bank run right now. Good gracious, no. But what I am saying is, like, think before you act. You have to at this time, because everyone is out to deceive you. Everyone is out to take your money. And I say money very loosely. You hit on something earlier that I thought was pretty fascinating. It's not even money; it's currency. But that's probably another story for another time. But yeah. So anyway, long story short, I love the fact that you're hitting on that, because again, it's not yours. Yeah. If it's in a bank, it's not yours. So that probably needs to be, again, in the thought process. What do I do with that? If I need something, okay, well, can I go get $20,000 out? Well, probably not. They're probably going to tell you to come back next week. and you're going to fill out all this paperwork to get $20,000 cash. How sad is that, man? My dad would roll over in his grave right now if he knew that was happening in America.
Yeah, and going back in history again, guys, this could happen tomorrow. This was back in April 5th, 1933, under executive order by FDR, president at the time. This was headlines in major newspapers, guys. Basically saying that on before May 1st, 1933, all gold coin, gold bullion, and gold certificates now owned by them to the Federal Reserve Bank. So basically, you who spend your hard-earned money to buy silver, gold, and coins and certificates and all that, guess what? He said just like that. The Federal Reserve owns it now. You bought and paid for it. You paid everything, taxes for it too. You bought and paid for it, the physical gold in your hand. I don't have any, but just say this is gold, right? You bought and paid for that. It's yours, okay? Now the executive order says, guess what? If you don't turn that in, guess what? You're going to jail because it belongs to the Federal Reserve. Just like that. And if you don't think this is going to happen again, guys, this is, history does repeat itself. And the Industrial Revolution and the Great New Deal, whatever the case say, this is what they were doing, man. And executive order, that was major headlines. You could actually go to any New York Times, all the oldest newspapers, and pull up the archives. Roosevelt orders 4-day bank holiday, puts embargo on gold, calls Congress. So anybody own gold, you had to turn it in because it's not yours no more. It's a Federal Reserve System. Executive order. And this is some serious stuff we're dealing with. And that could easily happen again, guys.
Well, it could. And people, gold was, I don't want to say thought of in a lowly sense because it obviously wasn't. But, gold was seen as potentially unattainable back then. Mm-hmm. A $20 piece of gold, that was a huge deal. So in 1934, FDR actually signed another executive order to confiscate silver, and there was almost riots in the street. So basically, that one was not enforced nearly as much as the gold one was. But back in the day, if they found, look, I worked in a bank in my banking career where the vault was from the early 1900s. And some of the safety deposit boxes had been there since the 20s. Just crazy old. And back in 1933, so I don't know if anyone knows how safety deposit boxes work, but when you go into a bank official has to be there to unlock as well as the person with the safety deposit box. There's 2 keys usually. And so at the end of the day, someone has to be there. Well, in 1933 and 34, federal marshals had to help you open your safety deposit box. Why? Wow. They were looking for gold. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. And like you said, that could happen tomorrow.
Yep. And right here too, more on that executive order was by the way, it was Executive Order 6102 by FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president there. He said this is what happened, right? Check this out. So at the time, gold was worth $2,000 an ounce, right? Now check this out. On April 5th, 1933, the year Roosevelt released the executive order criminalizing the possession of monetary gold by any individual, partnership, association, or corporation within the continent of the United States. So anybody, that had gold, people were required to deliver the gold to the Federal Reserve in exchange for $20 per troy. So basically, you spent $2,000 an ounce, right? Yeah.
Well, back then it was $20.67 an ounce.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got that wrong. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, when you turned it in. It was $20.67. And then 6 months later, they revalued the gold. Tell us the number if you've got it in front of you. Tell us that number.
$2,000 an ounce.
Well, actually, so in 1933, they revalued it to $32 an ounce.
Oh, okay.
Which is, that's, almost 70%
Oh, I'm
more.
sorry. I read that says at the bottom says per troy ounce today with inflation.
Yeah, that's the per troy ounce today. Yeah. So the point being is they manipulated it so much even back then to where they quote unquote made money. The dollar hadn't gone down or up. Wow. They had manipulated gold to the dollar. It's like the first time that had really happened. And that set a precedent because, back in the 1800s, they tried to tie silver to gold in a ratio. They tried to pass it through Congress. It didn't pass.
Yeah.
But they did that because silver was the currency. Like, we all use silver in our coins and stuff, whatever.
Yep.
Gold was kind of the backing and, like, the big-time savings, right? And so, yeah, they've always manipulated this stuff. And for someone to say that they can't, like, manipulate Bitcoin, it's the most illogical thought process I think you could ever have, because it doesn't take into account, like, human nature, right?
Yeah.
And the human nature of this is they're going to try to steal your gold.
Yep.
If they can do it through Bitcoin, they will absolutely do it.
Imagine
they're going
that,
to try to steal your, and when I say gold, I mean wealth.
We'll
right?
give you the money, $20 an
try
ounce.
to steal the country that your fathers and your forefathers conquered.
Ain't that something? Like, yeah, we'll give you the money, no problem. We'll give you the $20 an ounce, like it's worth, right? And boom, it goes up $32 an ounce. You know what I mean? Like, then you're like, what the heck happened? Yeah, and the thing is, the reality of it, you were given real money for monopoly money. That plain and simple. It's a fiat dollar. It's not. There's no gold standard backed by it, and that's why they would never audit the Federal Reserve, because I don't think there's gold in there. To be honest with you, I really don't.
It'd be interesting to find out, but there's speculation, and again, this is speculation. But I mean, there's speculation, Dan, that there's less than like 2 or 3 barrels of gold coins left at Fort Knox. The rest of it's gone. That to even have speculation like that in this country, to me, is fascinating, and it shows a level like, hey, we don't really trust what's going on anymore. Well, what backs the dollar right now, besides the end of a barrel of a gun, right? It's trust.
Yep.
And if we don't trust that anything is going on, what do you think the dollar's doing right now? Just because it's the belle of the ball, just because it's the half-eaten eclair on the top of the trash, it's still trash.
Yeah. And
so it's just really crazy that people just don't seem to understand. And I'm not calling anyone stupid, or please don't misunderstand me. But what I am saying is that people are so asleep at the wheel because it's easy to be asleep at the wheel. Like, my goodness, we have it great. Even now with inflation and whatever, like, dude, I can go get gasoline, I can go drive to California if I want to, and I can see this country, and I can do all this other stuff. I can eat, at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. I can do all this like opulent stuff, and it's like that's what's lulled us to sleep.
I think that's another
doing the banking and the financing as long as I did, I realized that all this is a mechanism to keep us asleep. George Carlin said it best. You know why they call it the American dream? Because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Yep. Exactly. And it's crazy,
like,
man.
Okay, that's what our finances have become.
Yeah.
Now the question is, as cognizant, awake Americans, what do we do to wake up to get out of that system? And that's for the individual to decide. And quite frankly, to me, that's the hope of America, is that we get to be in and be out of systems that we don't agree with.
Too bad we can get a president in that would break the whole paradigm and say, you know what, Federal Reserve, we don't owe you crap, see you later. And, about the possibilities of that ever happening, man, it's slim to none. But, the real quick, too, I got 2 articles here on the Bitcoin, and we were talking about earlier. Forbes magazine saying that Bitcoin prices struggle near 20,000 as Google data shows a fall in interest, and also that CNBC says that Bitcoin sinks and the FBI's DeFi warning, and what's next for Bitcoin's biggest fans and CNBC Crypto World, and they basically talk about, and my cousin Ron, who he made national news about having 300 guns, he was busted because he ran into a problem, some drugs, whatever, but he made about $1 million with Bitcoin, and I think that's the real reason why they went after him, to make an example of him, because he bought a house with it and everything else, and I think because it's out of the realm of the IRS and all them people, so I think that's why he's been in jail for almost a year now, and no due process and nothing like that. And they denied him bail and everything else, and because he was a genius with the stuff, and he literally made about $1 million, bought like $300,000 of guns, a house for $500,000 cash out, and with the Bitcoin and all that, and so I don't know, man. We're still looking into this, but they're like really pushing the feds, all the alpha agencies, are really pushing to monitor the whole Bitcoin thing and control it. And like you've seen the executive order by Joe Biden, which has a lot to do with this. Yeah, they're taking full control of this. Even the Russian government came out to say, hey, we're gonna, we could shut Bitcoin down. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. And when I tell my friends who are, lost into the Bitcoin world, and I tell them that, they laugh. That can't happen. And it's like, dude, this is the same system they control. What makes you think it's? In other words, if I built a server system, right, and you built something off of my server system, right, I could shut it down. It doesn't matter how good your program is. I could say, all right, no problem, you're gone. You're off my service. You know what I mean? There's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? And
that's right. And, dude, think about this, okay? Say, like, whatever the encryption, okay, that's great. We live in a world right now where there are still wires that power all these servers and all these, places that have the computation to actually hold Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
You get somebody in there with a pair of bolt cutters, it's over. I mean, it's that simple. And so, like, when you think through things like that, it's like, oh, well, I probably then need to find something that's a little bit more, quote unquote, secure from human nature. And again, I don't know what that is for individuals, but I know it is for my household. And, it's a thing where it's like, okay, well, come what may, I know I have done my best to take care of my family. And that's what I wish for everybody. I want everyone to take away from our conversation tonight. Take care of your family, take care of your friends, take care of your neighbors. Like, don't be the guy that, like, goes out in the woods and stays out in the woods and doesn't no. Like run towards the fire, right? So, the firemen that are running towards the towers when they're coming down, like, be that guy, because those guys change the world for good. Yeah. Those guys are the people and girls. Sorry, I know we live in a world where I have to say that, but those type of people are the people that actually benefit this world and their community. Be that person, and I think you can use this system to be that person. I don't think the time is long in that, and I think the time is coming to an end where that happens. But right now, as we stand, we can be those people that use the system to help other people, to truly help other people, and to understand what it is to, and mine in your case, share the gospel, because I think that's the most help you can give anyone. But even if you don't believe in that, you can say, hey, I can buy an extra, week's worth of food for somebody, or I can buy a water filtration system for my neighbor so they don't have to drink the nasty tap water coming out, right?
Yeah.
Be that person for your community, and we will all change the world together for good.
Yeah, exactly. People down the street, you can see them struggling. Like me and my wife, neighbors next door, she knew them, but they were struggling for food, and she asked them for a box of macaroni, right? And we went over and bought a big box of food that, because everybody's got in their cabinet stuff that's been sitting there. It's still good, but like cans of corn or something, whatever, that you haven't touched in months. You know what I mean? Load the box up, go give it to them. You know what I mean? It's, and help them out. It puts a smile on their face and puts food in the kids' stomachs. And speaking of the Bible, I got a few verses, and I'll read the verses out, and then give you a take on them, man. And so, guys, we got to get to the biblical, what the Bible has to say about money. And now, before I get started, the Bible's not saying because you're rich, it's evil. It's not saying that. It's like the way you use the money and all that. So if you got money and you're well off, okay, it's not saying you're going to hell or whatever the case. You got to read it in its context. But we'll go through some verses. 1 Timothy 6:10 says, "For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from their faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows." In other words, like, the people covet after money. All they care, like the rap videos and flashing thousands of dollars around, millions, whatever, and like they covet, they want money. They're never satisfied. That's what it's talking about. And in Matthew 6:19 and 21, it says, "Do not store up yourselves treasures on the earth, where moth and dust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and dust and rust do not destroy, and where thieves cannot break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there also you'll be hot." So I want people, I don't know how to put this. I'm not being perverted. I'm just saying, next time you go take a shower, right? You undress, ready to get in the shower. Look in the mirror for a minute. Not in a sexual way. Just look in the mirror, because that's the only thing that's going with you when you die. Okay, your house, everything around you, your cars, your fancy clothes, all that's not going with you. And that's what you're going. That's it. You know what I mean? You can't take any of that with you. And people, it's going to get destroyed one day or stolen, whatever. That's what the Bible's saying. So store up your treasures. If you got money, you help people out. That's a spiritual gift. And it talks about the alms in Matthew. Like, in other words, do it in secret, and the Father's going to reward you. If you do it like on TV or, live streaming, look at me donating to homeless people. That's great. Yeah, thank you. You got your reward right there. You get the praise of people. You're not going to get a spiritual reward for it. And the Bible says if you do it in secret, the Father will reward you when you store up treasures in heaven. You know what I mean? And one other verse, Luke 18, 22 through 27, it says, "Now when Jesus heard these things, he said unto him, Yet lackest the one thing, sell all that you have and distribute unto the poor, and thou shalt have treasures in heaven, and come follow me." So I forgot who this was.
Man, I'm telling you that those are such comforting words.
Yeah.
Man.
So all you have, and I forgot who it was a rich guy. So all you have, and come follow me. And he didn't want to do that for us. And it goes on to say, and when he heard this, he was very sorrowful, for he was very rich. And Jesus saw that he was very sorrowful, and said to him, How hardly that you shall sell that have riches into the kingdom of God. For it is easier for a camel, and then this way he tells him, right? So you're sorry, you feel sorrowful because I want you to sell everything you have and distribute it to the poor. Oh man, it's all my stuff, man. Come on, you know what I mean? And then he goes on to say, well, guess what? It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. In this case, this is in the context. It's not saying everybody who's rich is not going to go to heaven. It's saying because of people like him that covet after money, right? And he's saying, with all that money with you, we know it's impossible for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. That's the way he's trying to make the point. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. And if they heard it and said, who can be saved then? Asking him, and he said, the things which are impossible with men are possible with God. So yes, with God, God could actually put anything. You could put the Empire State Building through the eye of a needle. But the thing is, what he's trying to teach here in the subject is like that stuff. That stuff. Like, I'm telling you to sell this for a reason, to follow me, and because you're going to get you'll get treasures in heaven, which is far greater than anything you could possibly imagine on the earth. You know what I mean? So that's what he's trying to say. And and again, it's not saying if you're rich or you got money, you're an evil person. You know what I mean? Do good with it. Help other people. Don't be greedy with it. Don't covet after it, and like your whole life revolved around money. You know what I mean? Take that money and put it to good use. You know what I mean? Plain and simple. And your take on all those verses, bro?
Man, it's so good you bring this up because, in the unseen world that, we don't have a clear vision of, I'm so grateful that our Father in heaven actually describes this. But, Jesus takes it a step further. He says, consider the lilies of the field. I tell you that Solomon in all his glory is not clothed as one of these. Man, you want to talk about comfort? Like, it literally is from him, okay? It literally is from him. Everything is from him. Dan, I can't name one good thing in my life that has not come from Jesus. I can't. I can name a ton of bad stuff that's come from me, but I can't name one good. My family, my friends, my house, the vehicle I'm driving, it's all from him. And so, that's why I say it's really important to have the mindset of providing for others, to have the mindset of being that vessel, if you will, to kind of use some Christianese terms, being that vessel to be able to provide for other folks. But like, dude, let's strip it down even further, okay? I was at the podcast movement conference this week. Met some really cool people. It was pretty awesome. Learned a few things. One thing I will tell you that I actually took away from there that I'm still processing was that authenticity will win the day. And what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, your story, and not the story you've made for yourself, but the story that God made in you and through you, is so much more interesting and, storytelling worthy than the one you can make up yourself. So having said that, if we believe that's true, don't we want a part of our story to be providing for other people that need? I do. Mm-hmm. I absolutely do. And so, I'm taking these, scriptures that you read in an unseen world, and I'm bringing them back to earth and saying, what can we do here and now to show our Father's love for everyone else? What can we use from those lessons to be able to provide for other people? And that's what we're called to do. Again, like even if you're rich, like you said, even if you're poor, that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
You have a certain set of gifts. You have a certain set of monetary assets. You have a certain set of resources that God has gifted you with. The question is now, so what, right? What do you do with them? I believe you're to receive them with an open hand and say, if anyone else needs them, there they are, And so I hope what we've talked about tonight has been very encouraging for people to be able to go do that, because at the end of the day, that's all we have. Like you said, when we look in the mirror and see, like the half, shaved beard and the, nasty teeth and whatever in the morning, man, that's all we're going to leave with one day.
Mm-hmm.
Except for this one other thing, and that's the relationships we've made. I believe we leave with those. And that, first and foremost, that relationship with the Messiah. And so when we look at that, we have to realize, guys, this isn't a game. This may seem like a game to some people. This may seem like, oh, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm making a ton of money, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm not making any. Guys, this isn't a game. This is reality. This is the real world. And you can make a difference in someone else's life. And that's what I encourage, because, again, I know where I was, I know who I was, and I know what he saved me from. And, people are like, well, how do you know? Well, look, I know because I was there. I witnessed it firsthand, okay? Yep. I want to then be able to take whatever he's given me that's good and be able to provide something for someone else to see how good he is, to then take that and then go multiply that. That's my whole message tonight. I hope that was clear. It may not have been.
No,
if it's not, please hit me up. I'm glad to talk to you. I don't want to go through this thing saying like, oh, well, I'm on Dan's show and whatever, but you can't get a hold of me. No. That's not why I do this. I do this, number one, because Dan's my friend. But number two, I do this because I want to be able to talk to people and to engage with people to hear their story that God has created in them. Because at the end of the day, you know what that does for me, Dan? That lets me know my Heavenly Father even more, because we're made in His image, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do what I do. So I want to encourage everybody. Look, go be that person for somebody. You can do it. I have faith in you. I know you can, because I know what I was. I know where I've came from, and I know what I can do now. And it's all by the grace of God.
You know what story too in the Bible, the not story, account I should say, the account of Lazarus and the rich man. And if you've never heard that, just Google it quick. It's an account that happened. Lazarus and the account of the rich man, whatever the case. And long story short, with that, Lazarus was full of sores. He was poor, like would be considered a homeless person today, right? And he asked the rich man, like, we had, big dinner banquets and all that. He goes, could I have some of the crumbs that fall off your plate? And he said, I wouldn't even give you he asked him for food or something to help, and he said, I wouldn't even give you the food that falls off the table where my dogs eat it, mocking him, you know what I mean? So both of them, he ends up dying first, and the rich man dies not soon after. And, Lazarus is in paradise with Father Abraham, right? And across the void is hell, you know what I mean? And there was the rich man standing and asking, begging for a drop of water. And, you know what I mean? And Lazarus said, could I go over and give him a drop of water? And Abraham said, you can't go there. He can't come here. You know what I mean? Then the rich man goes, please, Father Abraham, could I just go back and warn my brothers so they don't turn out, they end up in hell with me? And he goes, no, because if they didn't listen to the prophets, then they're not going to listen to you. You know what I mean? And that's a very powerful story. There's more to it, but you guys, like, if you can find it on YouTube too. Just get that story, man, because it's very powerful, man. It really is. And if you want to follow Rob Blackwell, site here, page, Rob Blackwell Music on Facebook. And I put the link in the description. It's also in the chat room too. Give him a follow on Facebook there. And like he said, he'll be down to talk to you. You know what I mean? And and there's time's coming up. So if you want to close with any words, brother, and I thank you so much for coming on, man. And it's been a great show.
Absolutely. And Dan, I really believe in what you're doing, man.
Thank you.
I really, I enjoy your show just personally. I think it's very cool. I'm a huge fan of that New England accent as well too. So, it's cool that I get to hear someone, engage with people in that way. But in closing, I just want to say, guys, time is short. And I don't mean like the end of the world is coming tomorrow. I don't know. Look, Jesus himself doesn't know when he's coming back. That's up to the Father. But what I want to tell you is we all face an end of days, okay? A personal end of days. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. That's why it's so important. Get your faith and your relationship with our Heavenly Father right first.
Mm-hmm.
After you do that, you get your house in order with your family, with your friends, with your community, with your sphere of influence, whatever that is, you get that. And then you take your message out, okay? God will give you the words to say. He will give you the actions to perform. He will give you what it takes to do his will here on this earth. But you have to be humble. And you have to be open.
Amen.
That's my message tonight. Be humble, be open, be ready. Be ready for what's coming. Don't let it scare you. Don't let it frighten you. Be ready. Be that beacon of light that people look at and say, wow, like they did not hide that city on a hill. They did not hide their lamp under a bushel. They've shown it for all to see so that their Father in heaven would be pleased. Because ultimately, you can have all the money in the world. It doesn't matter. If he's not pleased with you, none of that matters. Mm-hmm. So do that, and it'll be good for you. It'll be good with you. that's my message tonight. I hope that's clear.
Absolutely. It's awesome. Beautiful message, man. And I'll be in touch with you, brother. And thank you so much because I get to my third shift job soon. So, as you can see, guys, we work our own jobs too, and that's the only reason why, guys, I put out this coming up here. PayPal, Venmo, and CashApp. We got this to support the ministry because I rent an office space in the building. We pay for streaming on Rumble here, and the equipment costs a lot of money. So, and thank you guys for who have been helping out and better pray for us. That's number one. If you don't got money, who cares? Pray for us because the Father will provide. But Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal, the links are in the description. And speaking of digital currency, that's crazy. How that works. But unfortunately, that's the way it is today. But all the money goes into what you see here, and we're just trying to get to that next level, man. And but most of all, pray for us, like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And please check out the awesome content on IUC TV. We got so many shows coming up, man, and we were going to revamp the Spiritual Warfare Friday. I want to make that announcement real quick. We're going to continue like normal this week, but next week, Brian Reese is going to come on as an official co-host with me from now on. We're still going to take guests, do phone calls, prayers for you, take your testimonies, questions, all that stuff. What we're going to do is basically become like the Friday version of the Midnight Ride. You know what I mean? So Friday, have the Spiritual Warfare Friday night. Then Saturday, the Midnight Ride. Then Sunday, you have Breaking Babylon. So 1, 2, 3 punch of top-notch spiritual warfare shows, and we're just going to really, really take it to the next level, man. So check out NYS TV and all that awesome content, guys. So that being said, Rob, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it very much.
Yep, take care, brother. God bless you. Okay, so that was Rob Blackwell, guys. Please follow him on Rob Blackwell Music on Facebook. So, all right, guys, we are out of here. So I want to thank you one more time, everybody in the chat room, for joining us. Bill, Timothy, Lady Cooper, and everybody else, and Valerie, thank you as well. And everybody else was in the chat room. So we'll see you, what's today? All right, we'll see you Friday, 10:15 p.m. Eastern for the nightly news. And right after that, 11:55, we're going to go into the Spiritual Warfare Friday, where me and Brian Reese are going to finish off a series of how to walk and, protect yourself spiritually as a, follower of Jesus. This is our fourth show for that. So we're going to finish that up. And next week, we're launching a whole brand new Spiritual Warfare show, new intros, everything. We just got a, whole brand new show. So with new times. And if you go to truthradioshow.com every day, because we go from YouTube to different platforms. If you go to truthradioshow.com every day, we're going to have the exact link up. All you do is click on it. It goes, or you can watch it right on the website, either one. It goes to the platform we're going to be broadcasting on. And please subscribe to our platforms. And the thing is, we have to do this because to continue, because years ago we put all our eggs into one basket, into one channel. So basically, if the channel gets shut down, now what? You know what I mean? We have to build an audience back up again. So being on multiple channels and platforms, this way it gives us the ability, if they shut us down, hey, we got another one or another one. I got 3 YouTube channels right now and the Rumble. So basically, it's going to continue nonstop. If you just go to truthradioshow.com, you don't have to worry about any of that. So anyways, love you all. God bless. Shalom, and you are the resistance. Declaring war on the New World Order. TruthRadioShow.com. It is fire. Defending liberty in the spirit of 1776. It's Dan Bidondi on TruthRadioShow.com. Thank you for supporting TruthRadioShow.com in our continuous fight against the New World Order. If you want to donate and help contribute toward our daily news show and our spiritual warfare ministries, contribute any amount to the following links in the description. That's our PayPal, our Venmo, or our Cash App. Or just simply take out your camera and scan the code bars on the screen. And we thank you once again for help supporting the fight against the New World Order. And remember, you are the resistance. God bless.